All right, Speedromizer community, I have just been informed that we are all set for our next run of Rebel Transmute by the legends, Cidiya and Illegally Sam. My friends, take it away.
Hello everyone! Welcome to this exciting Metroidvania from 2023. My name is Cidiya, I go by she, her pronouns. You can also call me Sid for short, I love both names. With me I have my teacher, Illegally Sam. How's it going?
Hello everybody, I'm Illegally Sam, and I'm the person who normally runs this game.
Yeah, so I guess we'll have plenty of time to talk through the game during the run, so I'll just get started in... Wait, so I actually want to ask, does the timer start as soon as I press the new file, or is it actually when I skip the go to the first
The time
cutscene?
starts after clearing the dialog box after hitting new game.
Right, cool. So time starts in 3, 2, 1, go.
Good luck.
Thank you.
Alright,
I may or
so
may not need it.
go ahead.
Well, so this is the start of the game, and we already have a nice slide move here that we can use to speed up our movement a little bit.
Yeah, that's one of the fun parts about this game, is that you start the game with the ability to shmove, and you only get to shmove more as time goes on.
Absolutely, yeah. So I'm gonna take this thing that lets us heal a little bit faster. It's technically already a time loss. It's a time loss I willingly lock in, because I'm gonna go for a little bit of marathon safety here.
Yeah, it's such a small time loss that, like, even I would get it during PB attempts for a very long time, because why not?
Right.
But yeah, the reason why it lets you heal better is because the way healing works in this game is it's kind of like Hollow Knight and other games where, like, you hit enemies to fill a bar and then you can heal with that bar. So that little bar underneath the health in the top left is the indicator of your spark blood. And if you fill that bar, you can heal. Normally it takes 6 hits against enemies to fill that bar, but with that augment that we picked up, it only takes 4.
And then later we're gonna get another upgrade that makes us heal even faster. I don't know if at that point this upgrade will really be relevant anymore, but...
Yeah, it's one of those things where it doesn't technically matter all that much anymore, but it is still a little bit better in a couple circumstances.
Here we have the first wave fight. I guess there's way more of these when you play the game casually. I remember fighting a bunch of them.
But we skip a lot of them.
We skip most of them, yeah.
Both
We're going to be picking up as much of this money as possible.
Yeah, we do use the money for one specific purpose later in the run. Yeah, a lot of wave fights we skip in less than intended ways, so even if you are going through things as the dev intended as fast as possible, even those wave fights we're still skipping a lot of the time.
Right. I remember some of them are quite challenging though, like one with a bunch of I don't even remember what the enemy looks like, but there was like some flying enemies that were quite tricky.
Yep.
But yeah, we get to ignore that, luckily.
Yeah. It's unfortunate that my favorite wave fight is one that we skip, because it's the wave fight where you can just trick the enemies into jumping into the corner and killing themselves the whole time.
I didn't know that. That's pretty cool.
Right.
So I believe you were actually one of the Kickstarter backers of this game, right?
Yes. Back in 2023, this game... Actually, was it 22? I forget when the Kickstarter went live. It was either 2022 or 2023. But
so
regardless...
There I got the enemy to destroy a block of, I guess it's called regenerative matter, which our weapon isn't powerful enough to destroy yet, but luckily we can trick the enemy into doing it for us.
Yeah, I just call them bubbles.
Right.
Because
I think
they're
the game
bubbles.
calls it regenerative matter.
Yeah, half the stuff in this game we call what they're supposed to be, and half the stuff we very much don't. Like this. This is gray matter. We call it the first boss.
Yeah. So this boss used to be a bunch easier in the previous patch, right?
Yeah, so if you've ever seen this game run by me before, you'll have seen me do a funny trick where you can get the boss stuck in the corner, but that was patched out in a hotfix on PC a couple months ago. And so the version you're running on, that is not possible, unfortunately.
It doesn't mean I don't have to count how many hits I've gotten on it.
Yeah.
With a lot of bosses in this game, you can just sort of stand a little bit off-center, and most of its shots won't hit you. At least that's the case with this guy.
Yeah. I will say the big overhaul update that came out at the end of last year, or beginning of this year, I guess it was, made this boss a lot easier because it just lowered his health.
Right, okay, I see.
Like
there was also a big update which increased the damage of our weapon, right?
Yeah, that was also part of it, but so combining that with the less health, it's like, yeah, this boss takes like 15 less hits total as a result.
So here we get our first
phase 1 and
ability.
2.
Whenever we beat a boss, we get a new ability from one of these flowers. At least I think they're flowers.
Yeah, they're
Just, I guess,
up for interpretation.
yeah, it's where the game gets its name from. It's the transmutation. But yeah, this first upgrade is just purely so we can shoot those bubbles that we weren't able to shoot earlier. So it doesn't actually help us that much.
Well, actually, the overhaul update did make it so that it also increases the range of your blaster a little bit.
Oh, I see. I didn't know.
It used to not do anything besides just break those blocks. So it's nice that it does something a little extra now.
Yeah.
Right.
So
coming up is the first like major trick of the run. This is quarry skip. So basically, if you sit in a corner, you like hold down and left on the keyboard, and then jump up to barely clip onto that platform, and then slide, you just get super speed.
I was practicing that a bunch earlier, so...
Yeah, it's one of those tricks where it's like, it's not very difficult and there's like very low commitment, so you could just go retry it immediately, but it's always nice when you get it first try.
Oops. Okay, I'm taking a bit too much damage from this guy. That was a little sketchy, but...
it's fine. There's enemies for you to hit here if you need to.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, quarry skip is one of those things where we have no idea why it works, it just does, and so we make use of it.
So those guys can sometimes be annoying if they're in the wrong place.
Sometimes it's very generous. Although this room did used to be even worse.
Okay, I see.
The platforms were rearranged to make it a lot easier.
Less damage. Right. So coming up is the second boss, the Carapace. I was trying to just heal up to full health there, but 3 health should be enough. Because we very quickly get him into rage, where he does a lot less damage, or he's much more predictable, I should say.
Yeah, the way this boss works is it has like a bunch of attacks, but once you do enough damage, it enters this rage pattern where it has like those red particles around him. And when he's in this rage pattern, he only has one attack that they can use. And as a result, if you just wail on him the entire fight, constantly doing damage, he will just always be in rage. And so he'll only ever use that one attack. So if you're able to chain all of your attacks together really, really cleanly for this fight, it is really satisfying to just get through the whole thing with no complications. If you don't do quite enough damage, he might start using some other attacks every once in a while, but...
Like this attack?
Yeah. But thankfully, if it only uses one, that's not enough to kill you. And there you go.
Yeah. I actually forgot about the heal thingy I found here. You probably know about it already, but you can basically heal while you're standing on those blocks over there. And so you're healing while you're dropping down. So you can be healing during that fall.
I've never really done that, but like, yeah, that makes sense. Because there's not really too many spots where that's helpful, unfortunately.
Right. You can also heal while going down the elevator that we went down earlier.
Yeah. And my favorite,
this
you can
ability
heal...
is actually really useful. What was your theory?
No, I was saying my favorite is when you heal in between loading zones.
Yeah, I'll try to get a few of those, but we'll see.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure they're frame perfect and they save like half a second. They're not that big a deal, but I like them a lot, so I always go for them.
So now we have
an air dash.
Air dash.
It's an air dash.
Which I guess is quite... Oops. I guess it's quite common in Metroidvania games. This is actually the first Metroidvania game I've ever played, let alone speedrun, so...
Well, I mean, it's a good start.
It's a good start, yeah. And for that reason, it also did take me a while to learn this game. I think I spent like 60 hours or so.
Yeah, for reference, I think on my my time on the Xbox version of the game, I have like 120-something hours total.
But now I actually think I have to use this guy to kill that guy. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, you can also just heal real quick.
Oh, yeah. I forgot about that. That's why I have you here.
You have the one to remind you that you can heal.
Exactly. Also, you'll have to remind me later that I need to equip some
yeah, because later in the run with some of the augments, even I forget to equip them sometimes.
Yeah.
So it's like, it's very easy to forget.
So then we do like a little pogo.
Yeah, that's one of those...
gun gives us some knockback, and it also lets us do jump actions again, I guess.
Yeah, that's one of those small little skips that, like, you could tell is 100% intended. Like, you know that he left that anywhere there specifically so you could jump off of it like that.
I hate when it does that.
Yeah, these guys are annoying.
Okay, second try went pretty well. Guys can also be annoying.
Yeah, this is the overgrowth, which is like the first part of the run where it's like actually gets difficult with the traversal. It's like there's some like tricky stuff before.
Can be very tricky as well. I remember getting really mad at the game when I first tried this part.
Yeah, it's like this part. It's like once you get a lot of practice and you can get through most of these rooms, not without too much trouble, but like it's just a very long section with a lot of enemies, so it's very easy to just have things go slightly wrong and lose some time.
Yeah, definitely.
Also, fun little thing in the previous room. If you dash, it lets you like clip up onto corners that you wouldn't necessarily have been able to make otherwise if you're just barely close enough. And that previous room had an instance of that. And it's one of those instances
doing
where
it that way is so much easier than I guess the intended way.
The only problem is if one of the enemies is in the way, then it makes it so you can't do it.
So there sometimes you can get that little jump off the ledge before the enemy wakes up, which always feels good.
Yeah, those little pill bugs are a little inconsistent with when they notice you.
Yeah. Same with some of the other enemies as well. Like some of the robots later on can be very annoying if they wake up.
Right, and we're activating a fast travel station here.
Yeah, I'm actually using it because I have to get a battery since I got the extra healing thing earlier.
Yep. Yeah, if you were to either skip the extra augment at the beginning of the run or make it...
Oh no, what a shame. Oh well.
Or if you were to get it and then unequip it later, you wouldn't need to get any extra batteries because the batteries make it so you can equip one extra slot of augments. And you start out with 3 augment slots at the beginning of the run. One of those augment slots is taken up by like basic necessities that the game gives you, some of which we unequip.
Being able to heal at all, right?
Yeah, the 4 basic necessity augments are the ability to see yourself on the minimap is 1, the ability to drop cores on death is 2, your HUD is 3, and the ability to heal is 4.
So a lot of those are optional, but I guess the minimap we don't need as speedrunners.
Yeah, we unequip the minimap and we unequip the ability to drop cores on death, because the way death works in this game is if you die with that augment on, you drop a health core, your max health is decreased by 1 down with a minimum of 2, and then you have to get back to where you died to pick up the health core to get your max health back. If you don't have that equipped, instead of dropping health cores, you just lose 30% of your money, and if you lose 30% of your money, that's faster than dropping a health core and having to go back and get it, or rebuy it at the save station if you're not going back to that section, so...
Because it would cost like 50 to rebuy, or how much?
It's 35 to rebuy it.
35. Just still a little bit more.
Yeah. Yeah, so if you're able to manage your money in a certain way, you actually lose less money from dying than you do from rebuying your core, which is what we make use of in this run.
Base phase 1. I could actually just shoot these guys because they die in 1 shot.
You should probably heal now.
Yeah. Okay, 1 shot left.
That's how it goes.
Yeah.
Alright. And phase 1 is easy if the boss is nice to you.
So I actually find like when that little thing that makes the axes, the flying attacks, spawns right next to you, that's the most difficult place.
Yeah. Alright, but now we gotta fight the moth. As colloquially referred to as the sniper moth. You'll see why very shortly.
Well, I guess this is part of it.
That's more of like the shotgun moth. This is sniper moth.
Oh, yeah.
Because you gotta climb back up while it's taking pot shots at you the entire time. And the boss is very accurate, so you have to be like very careful when you're flying up.
Definitely. And sometimes it just places the shots in a very unfortunate position, like right where you're going, and there's not much you can do.
That's why like it's most of the time a pretty good strategy to just kind of like wait for the shot to come out and then move.
Yeah, true.
So that it doesn't catch you in midair. Yeah, this boss is a boss that was revamped in that big overhaul update we mentioned. This phase 2 was completely different in the old patch, and it was a lot easier. This fight's a lot harder now. I think it's also a lot slower. But it's one of those changes where I don't mind the fact that it's slower because it's actually just a better fight now.
It's a cooler fight, definitely, yeah.
So it's like I'm willing to take the time loss because you know, it's just a cooler fight, like I said. In the old version of the fight, you were able to actually take down the boss in 2 cycles. So what I mean by that is you jump up, you hit the wings, and you hit the boss a bunch to do damage, and you do that 2 times, and you're able to take out the boss in 2 cycles like that. Now, because you have a damage cap on whenever the boss drops down, it makes it so that you can not do this boss faster than 3 cycles. But GG. That was a little sketchy, but you got it.
I know. A lot sketchier than usual. It's long since I've had a phase 1 that sketchy, actually.
But your reward for defeating the sniper moth is a bomb. So if you shoot the bomb, it blows up.
Yeah, we're gonna use the force reset, because the game actually gives us a way to just take our own lives and return to a safe spot.
Yeah, this is a feature that more Metroidvanias should have, because it's legitimately just really useful even casually.
That's not the thing.
Because if you either were to get soft locked for whatever reason, or just want to go back to the checkpoint real quickly, you don't have to like run into an enemy a bunch of times. You can just hit that button and you're good to go. I think you fired the bomb a little too far to the right. I think you did it again that time as well. Fired a little further to the left.
Like this?
Yeah, like straight up there. It's like right above that platform down there.
Right. Well, this one you do want to have it a little bit off to the right, right?
Yeah, that one's a little off to the right. It's hard to remember these things because these platforms are... I think you hit that one early by accident.
Yeah.
That's why the cycles are off. Yeah, something cool about this game is like in Metroidvania fashion, it has like a bunch of shortcuts. And so in this room, when you like go up to the upper areas of this room, you realize, oh, there's a platform here that you can you can open up using the bomb because it has these little pink blocks on them. But
I guess I can just unlock the platform, or I can not
there you go. Yeah, those platforms are like always there, even when they're off screen. And so if you know they're there, you can just shoot them with a bomb off screen, and you can unlock them early and just skip a whole bunch of platforming.
Yep.
And the one in this room, if you skip this one skips an entire wave fight. So this one is really, really useful. Yeah, and since we have to wait for the platform to come down, we just kill a few enemies, get some money from them. Because like I said, we don't need a lot of money, but we do need a little bit.
Taking a little more damage here than I'd like to, but...
Yeah, if you, you should probably, like, attack some of the enemies in the next room just for safety, to get a heal off.
No, I'm not making the cycle, but that's fine.
That's fine. You can jump up early, potentially. Okay, that works. I don't think he fired the second bomb.
Oh, right.
Yeah. Yeah, this section is not too hard, but there's a boss coming up that is not easy, so if you can avoid taking damage here, it is really useful to not be taking damage here. Because it is not a very long lead up to the next boss.
Mm-hmm.
this is where the ability to heal slightly easier comes in handy.
Yeah.
These big blob dudes don't respawn, so they're very easy health fodder, thankfully.
Alright, back to full health.
Alright, so this next fight is one of the harder fights, and it was made even harder in that overhaul update that I mentioned. This is Bloat Specimen. The reason this one is so difficult is because the boss reacts to getting hit by your blaster, and it just bounces around the entire arena as a result, and it makes it very difficult to pin it down. The way the fight used to work is when it was dark blue, like it is right now, it didn't actually get knockbacked. So you could just wail on it a whole bunch and it wouldn't bounce around the arena at all, and then if it goes light blue, then you have to worry about it bouncing around the arena.
This is a little sketchy.
You're fine, I believe. I didn't believe hard enough.
Famous last words.
That's fine.
Yeah, that started going wrong pretty early on, I felt.
Yeah, that's why that fight's difficult, is because there's not a lot of good spots to heal during it.
And the one I picked definitely wasn't the right one.
Yeah, basically, like, the only, like, good time to heal is when he's shooting out, like, all the spikes from him, and you're, like, slightly off-center from him.
Yeah.
Other than that, you're kind of playing with fire a little bit.
Also, sometimes right after he ground pounds, I find.
Yeah. That's one of those times where it's like, it's probably safe, but a little scary.
Right, because he can sometimes do the double ground pound as well.
Yep.
Okay, this cycle's a little,
yeah. That sucks.
Yeah.
Yeah, this room is a little tricky to navigate when we don't have our full movement kit yet.
Just go back to the platform.
While you do the run back to the boss, DJ, if you've got anything you want to say, now's a good time.
Yeah, so not a whole lot to read off, but if you do want to donate, we are running, sorry, my brain still hasn't caught up. We are raising money for QMUNITY. QMUNITY is British Columbia's queer, trans, and two-spirit resource center, helping over 30,000 people per year since 2022, providing a wide resource center delivering programs and services and providing a safe space for two-spirit, lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, queer, intersexual, and asexual folks and their allies, regardless of age, location, and circumstance. With your donations today, we can ensure that no one in British Columbia gets left behind. And if that sounds like an awesome charity to donate towards, I would highly recommend !donate and send in your donations today. We also have a couple of polls open right now, such as the highly contested say blank to disco. I personally say no to disco, but if you want to choose that other option, !donate.
Donate money to make DJ wrong.
Alright, round 2.
You got this.
I should have it, yeah.
I will say, because of the death, you might need to kill an extra enemy or two for money later on, but it's not too big of a deal. Something else to note about this fight is because we have the bomb, it is the best way to do damage from here on out, in addition to just like attacking with the blaster as fast as possible. It's also to fire off the bomb whenever it's available, because the bomb does about 1.5 times as much damage as the basic blaster. And so when you're able to fire it off without sacrificing your blaster speed at all, because they're on 2 separate buttons, it's just extra DPS. Oh, that's unfortunate.
2 things at the same time. Yeah. That can be a little tricky.
Yeah, this is another thing that was changed, is the arena becoming smaller like this. That was also added as part of the overhaul update. The three changes for this fight were the fact that it bounces around a lot more, and it gained the slam attack, which it didn't originally have.
There we go. Whew.
Nice.
I was actually a little scared there.
And if you're not careful, you can still get hit by those things even when they're disappearing.
Yeah.
Alright, but now we get arguably the most important piece of movement tech in the entire run, the bounce. Because in addition to, you know, letting you bounce off of, like, enemies and other background hazards, it also lets you do stuff like this.
Not too bad. I'm just gonna shoot this guy a few times.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, this is a super bounce, what you just did in that last room. The way a super bounce works is this was actually added in a post-launch update by accident. This originally wasn't in the game. Because in a post-launch update, the dev, Evan, he added in, like, he made adjustments to the forgiveness mechanics, and so that made it so, like, you're able to jump after exiting a platform a lot easier than you used to be able to. And as a result of that, if you bounce off of the ground and then press jump a little bit after leaving the ground, that is unfortunate.
Yeah.
But and then you jump after leaving the ground, you just gain a massive amount of height, and it's a super bounce. If I don't know if you've been in this situation before, but the best route to take is just to go back through the overgrowth.
Right, that's what I imagined. Oh, that way, let's see.
Yeah, because unfortunately we needed we needed to pick up something that you did not get before dying, so we needed to make sure we go back and get it.
Now I need to not get too upset and just focus on the gameplay.
Yeah.
Because
This game is
situation,
not
I
easy.
want to do everything like extremely fast to get back to the place, but that's when I end up just dying again. So
Yeah, like this game is not easy. If you've seen a run of this game from me, I make it look a lot easier than it actually is because I've played this game a lot. With a lot of practice, this game gets a lot easier, but it is never outright easy. Like I will still make mistakes on some of these bosses and some of these platforming sections.
I want to have at least 3 health here.
Yeah, because it might not be a bad idea to pick up some extra money from time to time.
Yeah, good idea.
Yeah, because we need 150 money for an upgrade that we're gonna buy. You could just bounce up.
Oh yeah, of course.
Yeah, you don't need the fans anymore. Yeah, because if you combine a bomb with the bounce, not only does the bomb and the bounce give you a lot of height because you're affected by the bomb's explosion, if you do all of that with a super bounce as well, you just gain all of the height in the game. And so literally anywhere that is a vertical climb, you can just use that and gain so much height. I had a feeling you were going to shortchange that jump just a tiny bit, and I was really hoping you wouldn't. That is unfortunate. But now we get to see more super bounces, at least, and super bomb bounces. Because when I said the bounce is the most important piece of movement tech, I really mean it, because it opens up so much movement in this game. And the bomb bounce is one of those things where it's never required or anything. Like, it's one of those pieces of tech where the dev knew it was a thing, and it was left in as like a secret kind of tech to like combine the bounce and the bomb so that you would be able to gain a lot of height whenever you use it. But it's never required for any portion of the game. It's just like one of those things that you can do for fun. All of the super bounce stuff, that's not intended. And so we just are able to make use of that as a result. Demolish a lot of intended platforming sections.
Yeah. My inputs are like way off right now. Like my hand's not doing what my brain wants to, but I'll try and keep it together.
I believe. You've put in a lot of work into this game, so.
I have. It is also very hot in my room right now. Probably doesn't help.
Yeah, it does not help, I'm sure.
Okay, we're back.
Now just play it cool, that'll help, right? Another fun thing with the bomb bounce is that you're able to shoot a bomb at an enemy, bounce off the enemy and the bomb at the same time, and do a bomb bounce off of the enemy. That's one of the big reasons why it is useful, is because you don't need to be at a start from a standstill to do a regular bomb bounce, but you do need to start from a standstill to do a super bounce.
Yeah, I actually want to go in here, so I can equip the thing we just got.
Yes, that augment that we just got is the double jump, because the double jump is not a normal upgrade in this game, it is an upgrade that we get from an augment. In my casual playthrough, I didn't realize that was an augment that I had picked up, so I beat the entire game without double jump. Alright, but now that you have the double jump, we're going to take another small detour to get another augment. While the double jump is required for the route that we take, like that's the movement augment that we get, this is the combat augment that we get, because in this room is something called Wave Blaster. Wave Blaster is very important because it makes it so that we do significantly more damage in combat. It turns the basic blaster shot into a shotgun, where it has 4 extra shots along the sides, like in a cone, radiating out from the initial shot. And each of those extra shots does 1/4 of the damage of the base shot. So in other words, you have 1 times damage for the base shot, and then 4 shots that they do half the damage, sorry, not 1/4. So what happens is all of those extra shots, 4 extra shots that do half the damage each. If you hit an enemy with every single shot from Wave Blaster, you're doing 3 times as much damage.
I need some more money, right?
Probably should heal as well. And there was some money that dropped by one of the guys over here that you didn't pick up yet.
That's true, yeah.
So I think you only need to kill like 1 of the giant jellyfish, maybe 2.
Yeah,
you need to kill 2 enemies. The giant jellyfish dropped 15. Yeah, this was another reason why it's not that big of a deal that like the money is routed in a certain way to be as fast as possible, but if things go wrong and you need extra money, it's not too much of a time loss, because the Synapse update also made it so a lot of these enemies drop more money than they used to. Like a lot of these enemies that you're killing that give like 12, 15, they didn't even drop 10 before.
I see, yeah.
So, also there's if you could have just used that one flux thing in that last room, the little flux tree. Those drop 18.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So, not a big deal. As long as you get the money, it doesn't matter how. Alright,
So,
and
let's kill a few more
one
bees.
more. And the reason we're getting this 150 red flux is because in this room up ahead is the NPC that upgrades your blaster. And so it's a small detour to be able to do extra damage for the rest of the game, and that makes all of the boss fights from here on out even faster. Because the base shot does 5 damage, this upgrades it so it does 7 damage, so it's not quite a 50% increase, but it's substantial enough that it is worth the detour.
Definitely not. Alright, we're out of this section. Now we don't have to watch me respawning there anymore.
Yep, now we can watch you respawn somewhere else.
Yeah, true. Hopefully
Yeah,
in the intentional moments, right?
Yes, when you do the force respawns later. That's what I'm talking about.
Exactly.
We have to take another small little detour here for a required story item. We're picking up an AI called Quirk. Don't worry about the story, it doesn't really matter that much. The story's not bad, it's just not like super interesting outside the context of the game. But we need to pick up Quirk in order to activate 3 subsystems around the map, and then once we reactivate those 3 subsystems, we can go fight the final boss. So that is why Quirk is a required pickup, is even though she doesn't affect anything besides the story progression, we still need it for story progression.
Would there be a faster routing way if we didn't have to get it?
Yeah, it's called, you just don't have to go interact with that terminal.
Alright, but it's on the way.
If we didn't do that, we would actually not force respawn after picking up the upgrade. and go
okay.
left from that room instead, and we would end up in that giant vertical shaft in the quarry. So that's the route we would take if we weren't picking up quirk there. That was actually a very old route like back when this game was first being routed. We would pick up quirk at a different time, and so that's what we would actually do.
So coming up as a treat for all the RNG lovers, I guess.
Yeah, this game thankfully is not very heavily RNG based for the most part. Like some of the boss patterns are RNG based, some of the enemy spawns are RNG based, but this is like the one RNG thing in the run. The rest of the stuff is relatively inconsequential overall. Because this is Mind Skip. Mind Skip has two parts. One is RNG based, one is execution based. The first half of it is the RNG part, unfortunately. So the way Mind Skip works is there's these blue guys, those like blue X guys, they shoot out projectiles. Behind this wall is a switch. The enemy projectiles are able to hit that switch. The enemies teleport randomly. We just have to sit here until they hit the switch. Because this is not the intended route, this is very much a sequence break. But this sequence break lets us skip pretty much this entire area. And so as a result, it is... If you want to go fast, it is required to do this trick, essentially. The problem is, if the enemies don't cooperate, the amount of time it saves starts disappearing pretty rapidly.
Right. And I do have a safety save in case I'm just stuck here for too long.
This trick used to be easier on the old patch, but this room was completely redone, and the layout of the room was completely reorganized.
Should I start going for the bomb strat?
That's up to you.
What do you think?
Yeah, because there is a strat that is slightly riskier, where if you shoot a bomb on these enemies and then make them teleport, you can, if they teleport next to the switch, the bomb will activate it, as opposed to having to hope that one of them teleports next to it and then shoots it. But because you're doing damage to the enemies, eventually you will start killing them, which is why it's slightly riskier. But it is faster and increases your odds of it working out, which is a good trade-off, depending on how things work out.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the reason why it used to be easier to do this room... Oh, that didn't work. Yeah, that was...
Right.
I think
I'm gonna go get the...
Yeah, go get the checkpoint.
Okay, I didn't get the checkpoint.
That is unfortunate.
See, this is why I wasn't sure about getting the checkpoint while those guys are still alive.
So if you void out in the lava, the enemies will respawn back to their initial spawn points.
That is very good to know. I'll keep that in mind. But maybe I should just go for the checkpoint straight away.
Yeah, that is not a bad idea.
The only problem is then I won't be able... Then it will be harder to aggro those guys, of course.
Yeah, but...
One of them is quite high up.
It also makes it you don't have to do this trek back, so it's a good trade-off.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, in the old version, it was easier because like there was like a conveyor on top of where that switch was, and their shots can go through conveyors. And so if they teleported above you, you would like be able to angle their shot so it hits it from above. And because there's that conveyor there, you could also potentially angle it so they hit it from below as well. So the range of potential spots for the shots to hit was just significantly higher, making it a lot easier. But unfortunately, that is not the layout of the room anymore, so we just gotta deal with what we've got. Yeah, that one change specifically is one of the reasons why, while this update makes a lot of changes, some faster, some slower, making Mind Skip way less consistent is one of those reasons why I think the old patch is slightly better to run on for the sake of getting good times.
Especially you can get more runs in.
Yeah. I think if you were to get the best possible RNG and just hit the switch immediately, this version is slightly faster overall.
Yeah.
But the odds of that happening are not very high.
I have sometimes gotten it like in 2 seconds, but that was in practice, not in an actual run.
Yep. Yeah, I haven't done too many runs on this patch specifically because I just haven't been back to grinding this game in for a little while. I think the fastest I've gotten in a run so far on this patch is like 20 seconds, which is not bad, but not phenomenal either.
So you're saying I should just void out in the lava?
Yeah, if you void out in the lava, then the enemies will not be aggroed anymore.
Cool. Okay, let's do it like this.
There you go. Oops. I think you could just make that jump with the double jump.
Oh yeah. I sometimes forget I have the double jump.
Yeah,
And
it's one of those
sometimes in
things.
the early game, I'll like think I have later abilities.
Yeah, that's the thing about the double jump is it's like it's not because it's an optional upgrade. It's not required for anything casually, but in the speedrun, it is required for things because we are skipping an entire upgrade because we are able to get the double jump.
Yeah.
So casually, what would happen is you're supposed to get a super dash. And that is how you're intended to go through some of the later parts of the mines, is you're supposed to use that super dash. But because we have
on me now?
the dash,
Maybe.
yeah, you have 2 of them aggroed,
Okay, maybe that's enough.
I believe. But yeah, because the super dash is able to be skipped with the double jump and the regular dash, we just get the double jump instead because the super dash requires fighting an extra boss. Yeah, so these enemies also teleport every time they take damage in addition to like the normal timer. So the best way to do the bomb strat, but also requires extra damage, is to shoot one of them with a bomb and then immediately shoot it so it teleports right away.
Yeah.
But if you just time things with their normal teleport, that obviously is slightly less likely to kill them.
I wonder if it's an advantage to stand like further on this side.
I think they can basically just teleport anywhere on your current visible screen. So I think it's probably best to stay closer to the bottom, and then as long as you don't scroll the screen to the right at all. Come on, I believe.
Yeah.
If you had fired that a little later, that one would have worked.
Yeah, true.
Or if you had hit it with your shot or something. One of them's dead. That's unfortunate.
I guess I'll just force respawn.
Yep, force respawn and they'll respawn.
Yeah, I'll give it another go, otherwise I'll use my safety save, which is just beyond this RNG pod.
Yeah, I saw the safety save. It's literally just this, but the door's already open.
Right.
Yep. We've talked to the dev and asked if he would be able to, the game is going to get one more final, big substantial update, and we've asked him if he would be able to do anything about making this trick suck less, and so hopefully in a future update there will be something that makes it suck less. But
yeah, because he's quite interested in speedruns as well, which is pretty cool. Didn't the dev run a speedrun competition for the game as well?
Yeah, back during the Kickstarter there was a speedrun contest for the demo.
That's pretty cool.
I did participate in that, and I did not come in first because I did not give myself enough time to actually do it. I got third place because I spent 2 hours on the last day of the contest because I was away earlier in the week when that was going on.
So how long was the game at that point?
The demo was literally just the first area, so it would end after the first boss fight.
Yeah.
You would go down the elevator after defeating Gray Matter, and the demo would end. So the demo runs were less than 5 minutes long. That's unfortunate.
Alright, time to break out the safety save. So, let's
This is the second part of Mind Skip. I will talk about it so you can focus on it. So the way this works is I mentioned earlier that the bomb explosion does give you momentum, and as a result of that, if you're in midair, it launches you upwards. And also, the bomb timer works while the game is paused, and so if you were to get in position and then pause the game and then unpause, the bomb explosion will just launch you straight up all the way, and so by combining that with the momentum from the double jump, you're able to just scale these walls that you wouldn't normally be able to scale. And good job.
Thanks.
That is not, it's one of those tricks where like you can get very consistent at it, but it is definitely harder than it looks.
It's much easier to get like many times in a row when you're just like loading saves, as opposed to when you actually get to that point in the run, I find.
Yeah, that too. Because unfortunately, if you fall in the lava, you only have so much health. Mm-hmm. Alright, but this is the next boss. This is the drill boss. This boss was also had changes made to it in the overhaul update, but they made the boss easier. Because they made the boss's hitbox just way bigger. And it also gave him this attack, which if you know how to dodge it, just lets you do a lot of damage.
Mm-hmm. Oh well.
Phase 1 is still not easy, but it is a lot easier than it used to be. Well, and then Phase 2 is a joke.
True.
But yeah, thankfully we have that checkpoint right there, so getting back to the boss is as easy as just going around a corner.
Exactly.
Something else.
Nowhere to hide from those. Sorry.
No, go ahead.
Go ahead. There's nowhere to hide from that laser attack if it's already destroyed the platforms, unfortunately.
Yeah, that's why it's like one of the strats with the avoiding the boss is to like barely move so that when it moves down and attacks you, it destroys as few blocks as possible.
Yeah.
What I was going to say is something about the Wave Blaster that we didn't mention is that all of the extra shots from the Wave Blaster also give you Spark Blood. So if you hit an enemy with all the shots from the Wave Blaster shot, you instantly have enough to heal. Phase 2. Phase 2 is very easy. That was Phase 2. The reason that Phase 2 is so much easier than it used to be is, in addition to the fact that you do a tiny bit more damage, it's also, because the hitbox is so much bigger, it's just so much easier to hit it with all of the shots from the Wave Blaster, and you can just absolutely demolish it. Because the way the old hitbox worked, it was only the drill at the bottom, and it wasn't that giant, like, bubble at the top as well.
I see.
And so, Phase 2 specifically, that makes it absolutely a joke.
Now we have one of the more challenging platforming sections coming up.
Yeah, the mines is, like, kind of meant as one of the last areas you're supposed to do casually, and so it's one of the harder areas to traverse. And on top of that, this upcoming section is the part where we're supposed to have the super dash. But by doing that, with the double jump and the dash, we don't need the super dash.
Mm-hmm. Well, these guys can be a bit of a nuisance because they have these annoying homing shots.
If you thought they're bad now, you should have seen the old version of them, because they were actually changed pretty substantially.
Right, I did see a bit of one of the previous runs on the old patch.
Yeah, the way they worked before is their shots wouldn't travel through blocks, but they did 2 damage. And so it was easier to dodge them, but if you did get hit, they just hit like a truck. This room is kind of annoying. Thankfully, it's not like, it's really easy to get your health back.
Very easy to take damage, yeah.
But yeah, it's a little annoying, but we're making our way to the next boss fight now.
Which is probably the boss I find the hardest, I would say.
Yeah, because this coming boss is a boss, like I mentioned, this is a very much supposed to be an end game area, so it's a boss fight where you're meant to have pretty much your entire movement kit for the fight, and it makes full use of that fact. Because this next boss fight is as much of a platforming challenge as it is a boss fight.
Yeah, indeed.
Which is why it's like actually a really fun boss fight. I like it a lot, but it is definitely not an easy fight.
It also has cool music.
That too. So this is another room where we skip a wave fight by just doing something that's not intended, which is going through that little gap with our bomb jumps.
Now this room is very tricky.
Yeah. Would you believe me if I said this version of the room is slightly easier than the old version?
Okay.
Because those turret things that are shooting out projectiles used to do it differently.
This is not good.
I believe. Because the way those turrets used to shoot out projectiles, it used to shoot it in the cardinal directions, and then it would shoot it in the diagonal directions. It would just alternate between those two things. So it would just fire out more shots than they do now.
So starting the boss fight with the 1 HP, not great. I'm gonna just try and be really careful here.
Yeah, focus on the game, I'll talk about the boss. This is Cerebellum. It's a brain in a jar, kind of. I guess it's more of a head in a jar, but we just call it the brain in a jar. This is, like I said, it's as much of a platforming challenge as it is a boss fight because it's just flying around the arena the entire time. And because of that, you kind of have to chase it down a lot of the time in order to actually damage it, while still dodging all of its attacks. And while its attacks aren't like super difficult to dodge, if you're not careful, because you're like in midair or something like that, it is a little tricky to dodge some of them at times.
It can also sometimes just like hog the space that you want to be in, like it like moves to the platform you're on.
Yeah, there's that, and then there's sometimes it can just fly around the edge of the arena and you just can't hit it.
Yeah.
That's the other
problem. Or it like stays at the bottom and it's pretty hard to hit that.
Yep. But like if you didn't know how to pogo yet, this is the boss where there's a decent chance you would unintentionally find out it's a thing. Just because of how the boss fight is structured. But thankfully it only has the 3 attacks. It has the lasers, it has the charge, and it has the explosions. And as long as you know what to expect from those attacks, you can dodge all of them 100% consistently.
So that was a little bit of improvising, I guess.
Yeah, there's a lot of that in this fight.
Yeah.
Yeah, because the explosions all like home on your current location, so if you just keep moving, you won't get hit by it.
Phase 2.
Alright, Phase 2, it turns into a Beyblade.
Basically, yeah.
Phase 2 is simultaneously easier and harder because it gets more attacks and they're different, but some of them are easier to dodge than Phase 1. And it's a lot easier to do damage to it quickly because it doesn't like move away from you as much. Because like that one is it like slowly moves towards you with a slightly bigger hitbox. While the explosions are a bit more erratic, so they're a little harder to dodge.
Yeah, but that's less of them.
Yeah. And then the laser thing is hard to dodge just because it's hard to tell where the lasers are going to come out, so sometimes you just kind of get hit by it by default, but thankfully, you know, it's still not too bad.
There we go.
And there you go. Nice job. And because this boss doesn't give you an upgrade, we just need to defeat the boss in order for progress. We just force respawn immediately.
But we do need to go back the same direction we went to find the boss.
Yes, because the reason we fought that boss in the first place is because there was a locked door, and behind that locked door is the subsystem that we need to go activate for the mines. And so, as a result, we need to go open that door, and that's what we did. Cerebellum is one of those fights where if you take that fight safely, it's genuinely not like too risky of a fight to die on. The hard part is trying to go fast.
That little section can be a bit tricky sometimes.
Yeah, because we're doing something that's not intended, and so we can't exactly blame the dev for making that unintended jump tricky.
Fighting this guy with 2 health, to be honest. But we'll see.
Thankfully, this next coming part is just a platforming section, and so you don't need to have full health.
Yeah. I don't care about the cycle, I just want to heal up a little bit.
Yeah, this room right here is actually one of the other biggest points of RNG in the run, because the direction that floating guy moves in, whether it's to the right or the left, is RNG. And if he moves to the right at the spawn of the room, you have to wait for the full cycle, and it loses about 15 seconds. If it moves to the left on room spawn, you can actually immediately make that cycle the moment you get over there from the entrance.
Yeah. And also, though, there's another. His friend can be like right above where you want to do the bomb bounce.
Yeah, so if the RNG cooperates in this room, it's about like 15-20 seconds faster than if you get bad RNG, but it's literally just a dichotomy of either you get it or you have to wait a cycle. And so it's not like previous RNG in this run where you have an indefinite amount of time stuck waiting. I've noticed you do a lot of slide jumps when you kind of need the height from the regular jump.
I know.
Yeah. It's just a comment, I'm not... It's one of those things where the way the slide jump works is since it gives you slightly less height but more speed, there's a lot of times where you want to be using it because it's faster, but there are times where you need the full jump height, and so as a result, it is pretty difficult to remember which sections you can make with a slide jump and which you can't.
Okay, now with a little bit more HP, hopefully this goes better.
Oh, you got the cycle.
Yeah, but am I gonna be able to make use of it?
Well, not anymore.
Okay, this should be much better. I think also, when I died just then, I was already thinking about having 1 HP for the upcoming jump in the next room. So I wasn't really focusing on what was going on.
To be fair, this jump is a lot easier in my opinion, because the wall is a lot easier to grab.
Still, I'm not comfortable having 1 HP there.
I understand. That jump in general is just less scary than the other one. True. All right, and then this is the first of 3 subsystems. The way these subsystems work is you activate the terminal, you have to go hit a bunch of switches so that they're all active at the same time. The switches do have timers on them, so if you take too long, they will start deactivating. But, you know, with the full movement kit that we have, they're genuinely not that hard to do. This is the hardest one, and it's still not that hard.
So do you know when the double activation glitch happened, or is that completely random?
It happens when the game says it's time for you to lose a second.
Okay.
I don't know why.
So the last cutscene sort of plays twice, and we don't know.
You have to skip it twice as a result.
Yeah.
But also, if you might have noticed that suspiciously wave fight shaped room right before the terminal back there. Yeah, that's because that suspiciously wave fight shaped room is supposed to have a wave fight in it, actually.
Yeah.
The only thing is the wave fight doesn't spawn until after you reactivate the subsystem, and so if we just force respawn before walking into it while leaving, we just skip the fight. That is the case for all 3 of the subsystems. All of them have a wave fight like that. It's just that one is literally right next to it. The other ones are actually in a different room, so they're a little less noticeable. But we
I actually had no idea they were on a timer as well. That's interesting.
But yeah, by skipping those wave fights, it's just more time that we don't have to spend doing them because they're not required.
That's conveniently contain a full heal's worth of spark blood.
Yeah, those are scattered throughout some of the trickier sections in the game. Not all of them, but a good number of them. All right, now we have to leave the mines because we're finally done here. After all the time we spent. Yeah, this next section through the subways is just a lot of platforming with some water and such, but like there's not really like too much going on here, so
yeah.
DJ, if you want to say anything, feel free.
Yeah. Give me just a second. Taking care of some stuff in the back. Just want to say what a fantastic run this has been so far. I got nothing else.
Well, thanks for that. I need all the moral backup I can get.
You're doing fantastic.
Thanks. So I should probably mention that my PB is around 1 hour and 2 minutes, and this run is certainly not going to PB, so I am going a bit over estimate.
Yeah. Well, yeah, this run wouldn't be valid regardless, but...
Right, because I used the safety save.
Yeah. Unfortunately, we do use the in-game timer for this game because the in-game timer is actually really good. And as a result, that's how we do our leaderboard timing. But because you loaded that separate save file, your in-game time is also not accurate. Yeah, the in-game timer in this game is really good because there's the file timer and then there's the speedrun timer. Those are not one and the same. Also, if you want to void out here on the electricity, that'll make the guy disappear.
That's a good tip.
Yeah, those two timers are not one and the same because the file timer pauses when you have the game paused and stuff like that, while the speedrun timer keeps ticking up even when the game is paused. And so depending on how your run goes, if you're like really close to a minute barrier, it's possible for the file timer to be like a 45-minute time, and then your in-game speedrun timer is a 46-minute time or something like that.
Right.
All right, it's time for another sequence break because the bomb can hit that switch on the other side of the wall. And now we do this entire area in a way that's not intended. So yeah, the way this area is supposed to go is the gimmick for this area is there's a terminal that opens up valves in these pipes, and that'll affect the water level in certain rooms. And the way you're supposed to do this is you're supposed to go to the right side of the area, activate a terminal, head back to the middle, go to the left now, and then once you activate those valves, some valve caps open up, and you're able to use those opened up valve caps to make it to where the boss is. By doing this back route, essentially, we can skip that entire thing. And so we don't have to activate any of the terminals in order to get to the boss fight, and that makes it significantly faster. The trade-off is that we have to do this one wave fight here, but this wave fight is not too long, thankfully. You can heal. Yeah, you had enough to heal during the scream at the beginning.
Yeah. Gotcha.
Not a big deal, though. This wave fight it's not literally free. It's like these are some pretty late game enemies, so they're not the easiest, but because our damage output is so high, it's also not that difficult either. And being at full health here is not super required much as it is for some of the other pre-boss sections, because the boss coming up is the easiest boss in the entire run. And you know a boss is easy if the boss is easier than the first boss fight in the game.
Right. But I do think that being a decent help tool after the boss is a good thing, because this room can sometimes be treacherous.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Like when you do the power swim, you can like clip out of the pipes.
Yep.
And then suddenly you get shot by those things.
Yeah, the thing is with this boss fight, it's really easy partially because our damage output is pretty substantial at this point, but even without that, you have almost no risk of dying on this boss because after every single attack, there's time to heal.
Yeah.
This is the fish boss. The name is Barathram. We call him Bartholomew. And like I said, he just charges at you, leaves the arena, you can heal, then he comes back in, does another attack, you can hit him a few times, then you can heal, then he leaves the arena, and then he comes back in, you can hit him again, and then he can heal. And you get why this boss fight is so easy. If you want to like play this boss fight as fast as possible, you will be leaving the center platform a bit more, but yeah.
Yeah.
There's no risk. It's already dead. The boss fight is so fast that I literally can't even trash talk the boss. It's dead too fast.
It's a kind boss.
Yeah, it's also really easy because that's one of the only boss fights in the game that doesn't have a phase 2.
That's right. Yeah.
It just moves slightly faster as the game continues.
Yeah.
Also, funny quirk about the bounce.
Yeah, it can let you sink quickly.
Yeah, if you enter the room transition with the bounce, it gives you the full downward momentum of being in free fall without the water slowing you down. All right, but now we have the ability to swim, and the swimming in this game is. No, yeah, that cycle is. It's not like super precise, but it's definitely not easy to get.
Yeah.
Like there's leniency, but yeah.
So
yeah,
by
swimming
holding
in this
space,
game is really fun.
Yeah. By holding space, we can input it, I guess, a lot more frequently than we're supposed to.
Yeah, because the way it works is it's basically a dash underwater, and so it's going to have like a slight cooldown after each dash. But if you hold down the jump button to do like the little jump that you would do underwater when you don't have the dash, it actually resets the dash cooldown immediately. And so by holding jump, you could just spam the dash button and constantly do dashes underwater. Also, we 100% did not do that room as intended. Because super bomb bounces exist. The way this room is intended to be done is actually a secret hidden feature of the swim that you will never actually see in the run. Because the swim also has a shine spark ability, where if you drop into the water with enough momentum, it'll store that momentum, you'll move underwater faster, and then when you leave the water, after that you'll shoot up into the air with significantly more momentum. And so the way you're supposed to do that room is you go down on the one side, on the right side, you get all the momentum, and you come around on the left side and shoot out super high. But obviously we don't need to do that, because it would be way slower. Oh, you accidentally got it. Right there. That was the shine spark state, but it was not useful.
Now this room can sometimes be quite annoying.
Yeah, these enemies are
I'm gonna do
very
this.
annoying. Yeah, thankfully they de-aggro when you leave the room so you can reset things.
Yeah.
And if you are able to get through this room fast enough, there's not like too much risk unless they were to teleport directly in front of you, but like their shots go through walls, which makes it pretty annoying.
Taking 1 damage is okay, I think.
Yeah. But this is one of those games, like I mentioned, swimming was really fun. Like, I actually really enjoy all of the water sections in this run because the swimming is so much fun to use. There's not too many platformers where you could say you enjoy all of the water sections.
Right. The thing is, though, with my control scheme, it does make that bit a little tricky. Because I essentially have to do everything with my left hand, like hold space, do the WASD arrow keys, and also tap left control.
Yeah, on controller, it's a lot better.
I can imagine.
It's because you're using the control stick with your left hand, holding A for jump, and then right trigger to dash. Right, but this is the labs. We have to make a quick detour here because after the last subsystem, Quirk basically said, "All right, I'm done helping. I'm leaving." And so in order to activate the last subsystem, we have to find some way to do it without Quirk. It would be nice if you could just go here from the beginning of the run without needing Quirk at all, but unfortunately that's not the case.
Gonna tank this shot.
But yeah, these surface labs are very difficult to get through without getting hit, and so I do not blame you in the slightest for playing it safe, hitting the enemies, and healing a bunch. But thankfully it is very short.
Yeah. And once you're through it, you have a little while before there's some challenging enemies again.
Yeah, so this section is kind of like the Dream Nail segments in Hollow Knight, where it's like you got these disappearing platforms, but we could just skip the whole thing. And there you go. And now you have the Synaptic Blade. That lets you do a whole bunch of stuff around the map, but for our intents and purposes, all it does is it lets us activate the third subsystem.
Yeah.
Also, fun fact, before the Synapse update, which was the big overall update, that wasn't an item. That was just a nameless upgrade.
I see.
It's just, it makes a lot of sense that it was given an actual name, because it was kind of weird that it didn't have one before.
So we're going back to a place we've been before, the Overgrowth?
Yeah, this is the main reason that we activated the fast travel station, is specifically so we could teleport back here now, because it lets us get to the third subsystem faster. Third subsystem is also the one that requires the least to actually do, because this one's not hidden behind a boss fight. We don't need any extra movement abilities to get to it. We just go straight there. Although I will say, this is the area where you're intended to get the super dash, which, if you look at the structure of the area, is pretty clear.
So what exactly does the super dash do?
The super dash is basically the normal dash, but it shoots you forward in a single direction until you hit something.
I see, okay.
For anybody who's played Hollow Knight, it's like the crystal dash, but if you haven't played Hollow Knight, it's what I described.
Well, I didn't make it all the way through in my casual playthrough. I played for like 11 hours and I was like, I'm just gonna start learning the speedrun.
That's fair. Yeah, in this area, there was like a giant worm boss. That worm boss is actually a massive pain to fight quickly, and so the fact that we don't need to fight him at all is very nice. Because it's
So how come it doesn't spawn? Oh, it's on the way back, right?
Well, it's in a completely different area of this part of the game. Like when you went up and went to the right, to get to the subsystem, it would be to the left.
Yeah.
And then up and around somewhere. Yeah, in true worm boss fashion, you have to like damage all of the segments of the boss, and so that's can only hit the head because all of the segments are already damaged. Right, but this section is a section where you're supposed to like go around. There's like 3 enemies that you defeat. Once you defeat the 3 enemies, a bunch of platforms appear, and you can go reach that entire section. And for good measure, the game was like, all right, have another section in the network. We can just force respawn and skip it. I don't know why that works specifically for that one, but it does.
All right, so
really
we just have the final boss left. If my calculation is correct.
Yep, now we just take the subway back to the first subway station and go fight the final boss. The final boss is not easy, but it is definitely, once you know what you're doing, it's not too bad either.
This hallway is actually a little tricky.
Yeah, like that hallway is one of those rooms where you just kind of need to practice to be able to get through it quickly.
Yeah, you need to know where the enemies spawn, which is
Also,
luckily
for safety, grab that checkpoint to the left.
Good idea.
For PB attempts,
very close.
There's not really much of a reason to grab this checkpoint because it's just wasting 15 seconds. Because once you have a good enough PB, if you die on the final boss, you're not going to PB anyway.
Exactly.
But for a marathon safety, why not? Also, this room is very fun to move through when you know what you're doing because you can chain together your dashes and your super bounces, just go through it very quickly.
I shouldn't just try to do it, actually.
It's the timing of the slide into the super bounce is pretty difficult, but once you get the hang of it, that room is very satisfying.
I got a few of them. All right, final boss time.
Yeah, this is Hive. It teleports a lot.
And in the second phase, there is no more time to heal.
Yeah, that's the part of the first phase is very easy if you play it safe. The difficulty in the first phase is doing it quickly without taking too much damage. Because if you want to do it quickly, you don't want to spend time healing, obviously.
Yeah, makes sense.
But if you play it safe, phase 1 is very easy because there's ample opportunities to heal. Phase 2 is very difficult because it moves very fast and its attacks come out in quick succession, so there's one guaranteed safe spot to heal and the rest of the spots to heal are risky. And so as a result, if you can get through phase 2 without getting hit, it's not very difficult, and the attacks are very predictable. The problem is learning the patterns in the first place and actually executing it.
Okay.
That's unfortunate.
I did manage to die to the first one.
Yeah, phase 1 is not free. It's just relatively easy.
I find sometimes in this game when I'm like thinking too much about I need to heal, that's when I mess up.
Yeah, the biggest reason why like not taking damage on phase 1 is difficult is because that tentacle attack, because you can just chain into it at random times, and if you're not ready for it, you will not be getting out of the way in time, unfortunately. And that's kind of what happened at the end there.
Yeah. And now actually you want to use this terminal instead, which is weird.
Yep. And you only have to skip 2 cutscenes as opposed to 3.
That's why. Yeah. Let's focus up.
Yeah, thankfully, since we have all of the boosts to DPS that we have, this fight is a lot faster than it would be otherwise. This fight would be so much longer without the 3 times damage from Wave Blaster and the 1.5 times damage from the damage upgrade.
Yeah.
And also, Wave Blaster is really nice because it makes it so you don't have to be as accurate as possible to still do damage to the boss. That's the other thing, because it's like, even if you're only hitting it with 1 or 2 of the like side shots, you're still doing damage.
And it also gives you spark blood so you can heal quicker.
Exactly.
So actually, even in Cerebellum, when it's below the platform, you can still hit it with some of the side blasts.
Yeah, and obviously still using the bomb at every opportunity because it's just extra damage for free. Alright, but now it's time for Phase 2. Phase 2 is characterized by the boss growing a giant pair of legs. So yeah, like I said, this phase has the attacks coming out a lot faster. The boss has a bigger hitbox, which, while it does make it a lot easier to hit the boss, it also makes it so the boss, if it charges at you, is more likely to hit you as well. But like I said, all of the attacks are very predictable if you know the patterns. So once you know what you're doing, this phase is not too bad. But it is very easy for it to spiral if you are not able to heal.
Exactly.
Yeah, because the one time where it is safe to heal is during that pillar attack, because the pillars take long enough to come out that you're able to heal before they disappear. And during that giant blast, it is, if you are at high enough health and you're confident enough in your skills in this fight, you can damage boost through it and do some extra damage during that attack, but obviously that's risky. Alright, now it's the desperation move. The funny thing is the desperation move actually makes it easier to hit the boss. So after that, literally nothing else changes. It just means you're almost done the fight.
Well, that's similar to my gameplay. When I get desperate, I also get easier to hit for the boss, you know?
That's fair actually. But yeah, once that happens, the boss fight is almost done, so time will be coming up very soon.
Yep. That's the boss fight, but we just have to get through a few cutscenes. And time.
GG's.
Right, so that
you made it through.
Thank you. I did make it through, yeah.
GG.
There were some meltdowns in there. A moment like when my hands were just doing something else than what I was thinking, and but I managed to get it together a little bit, and I'm happy with how the water section went actually, because that was something I messed up quite a lot in my PB, which I got yesterday. But I'm really happy that I was able to learn this game for Speedromizer. Actually, I want to thank you, Sam, for giving me this quite significant challenge. It's been,
thanks for sticking with it.
Yeah, it's been really fun to go with a lot of tricks from thinking I can only do this like every once in 20 times to, well, maybe once in 10, maybe once in 5, and then suddenly it just clicks. And that's what I love about speedrunning. Yeah, that's what I love about speedrunning. Like the going from like pure frustration and then to some kind of mastery. And yeah, I guess that's why I keep doing it and keep picking up new games.
Yeah, fantastic run. Looks like we're looking at a 1:16:27.
Okay. Not my best work, but
probably like 10 plus minutes of that was mind skip, so that's fair.
Yeah.
You made it through. That's the important part.
Yeah.
All right. Quick couple shout outs.
Sure. I mean, I stream occasionally and more these days at twitch.tv/cidiya, which has also been showing on screen. So you're welcome to come watch me there. I'll probably be playing some more of this game. I definitely want to meet the estimate of sub 1 hour, if not at the marathon, then in a run. So I'm gonna be taking a little bit of a break because this grind the last 2 weeks to learn the rest of the game did take a little bit of a toll on my hands. So I do need to take a little bit of a hand health break, but I'll be playing some janky Basil the Great Mouse Detective Commodore 64 game, which we're actually running as this month's Bad Run Club game, and I'm looking to lower my time in that. So that's probably the next thing I'll be playing. But then hopefully very soon I'll be back with more of this game, and I look forward to seeing how low I can take my time.
All right. We will be right back with our next run of Chameleon Twist. Stick around for that. All right. All right, Speedromizer community, I have good news and I have bad news. The bad news is this was my last hosting shift of Speedromizer, so I will not see you all again until the finale. However, the good news is I am leaving you in the more than capable hands of the legendary Spyron. Take it away, my friend.
Ooh, I like that. Legendary. Welcome on in, everyone. My name is Spyron, and I am very, very thrilled to be your host for the final few runs of Day 5 of Speedromizer with the time that I have left before I take my shift off and hosting is handed over to someone else. Thank you so much for being here, everyone. It is a pleasure to be here, participate in Speedromizer in this fashion. Last year, I was a runner. This year, I've just been a teacher, but I've also participated in the volunteering side of Speedromizer. And can I just tell you, it is fantastic. If you are at all interested in any behind the scenes, kind of how speedrun events run and the broadcast, the audio, whatever it might be, I would highly, highly recommend you get involved for the next Speedromizer. Not only can you participate as a runner, as I've said, you can also participate as a volunteer in any kind of fashion. The Speedromizer staff accepts everyone possible so that everyone can be a part of the event in whatever fashion suits you. I myself, this is, like I said, the first time I'm volunteering, which is again fantastic. The staff are amazing, inclusive and helpful every step of the way. If you don't remember what they've told you, if you get stuck at any point, they're there to lend you a hand. It's just fantastic. I can't sing the praises enough, honestly. Most roles also don't require any prior experience as well. So if you're thinking, I'd quite like to do some broadcast things, but I've never really touched OBS before outside of my own real personal streams, don't worry about it. It's a perfect way to start your journey as a member of broadcast, or maybe a host or a chat moderator, whatever it is that you want to do. Volunteer sign-ups open up before the start of each event, so do join the Discord, which is speedromizer.live/Discord, to keep an eye out for any future announcements before the next Speedromizer. Again, would highly recommend you get involved if it interests you in any sort of way. What we're going to do is we're going to throw through some quick ads before we do get started with the next run. We are just making sure that is all prepped and sorted now. So we're going to throw some ads your way. Please do stay tuned and we'll see you once they're done. Thank you so much, friends in Twitch chat, for bearing with those ads. I'm always curious as to what other people get when they get served the ads. I got a Death Stranding 2 ad. Very excited for that game. I wonder what ads you all got. Please tell me in the chat what ads you witnessed during that ad.